Hi everyone, we are starting with our course on SQL, and the first thing we should know is what is SQL. SQL is a computer language which is used for storing, manipulating and retrieving data in databases. It was invented by IBM and was initially named as SQL. Later it was renamed to SQL, which stands for Structured Query Language. In today's date, nearly all big companies or businesses are investing in technologies to gather, handle and transform large amount of data. SQL can help us do two things with this large amount of data. It can help us grant controlled access to this data, or secondly, you can manipulate this data so that business managers can take out relevant insights from it and take key business decisions. There are mainly three types of people who use SQL. First is the software developers or the programmers. These people create applications or programs where there is a database at the backend. These databases will then have data which the business requires. Next comes the database managers or database administrators. These people are the operations people for that company. They manage the database of these huge companies. Third is the non-IT people, which are the business managers or the research analysts or even the marketing analysts. They use this data to find out business insights, and then basis this data and information, they will take key business decisions. Now let us see what is a database. Database is an organized tool capable of keeping data or information that can be retrieved effectively and efficiently. There are two parts to the data being stored. One is the data itself, which will be stored in the form of tables. Second part is the metadata. Metadata defines and describes the data structure. Having this info in the database will help retrieve the data from the database faster. You will often hear that SQL works on relational databases. Simply put, relational databases are nothing but a collection of tables, and these tables have some relationship, that is, they are related in some way. Now, there are several components of a table. A record in a table is a row of data. An attribute is a column in the table which contains the same type of values for all the records. Intersection of these rows and columns is called a cell, and it contains a unique single value. For example, student 1 with age 18, gender as male, score as 89 and rank 2 is one particular record. Each student comprises one record, but the age of all the students is an attribute of all the students. So age 18 is the attribute of student 1, and this 18 is a value in one single cell. Similarly, the score 90 for student 2 is a unique value in a single cell. Now that we know about database, let us look at database management systems or DBMS. DBMS are used to define, manage and process databases. A DBMS does the following. It allows creation of new databases and their data structures. Secondly, it allows modification of the data. Third, you need to retrieve that data from the database using queries. That is also allowed by a DBMS. Fourth, it allows storage of the data over a long period of time, so that whenever there is data in the DBMS, it is not lost easily, it just stores it for a long period of time. Fifth is it enables recovery in times of failures. Whenever there is some system failure or an error and the data is lost, it enables recovery of that data. Sixth, it controls access to users. So you can define who can access that database and who cannot. We will look at classification of commands of the SQL. SQL commands are classified into 5 different parts. First is data definition language. This part of SQL enables you to define the structure of your data with data definition language or DDL, you can create, change, or delete the existing elements of the database. In a database, there are several types of elements like tables, views, schemas, etc. We will be covering only tables as of now. For now, let us look at the common DDL commands used for tables. First is create table name, which will create a particular table in the database. Then comes alter, which will be used to alter the columns in any table. Then is drop, which is used to delete a particular table from the database. Next is data manipulation language. This part of SQL enables one to manipulate the data contained within the objects. Basically, you will be able to add, change, or delete data from a particular table. So with DDL, we added, changed, or deleted tables, but with DML, we are adding, changing data inside a table. It consists of commands such as insert, which will insert rows into a table, update, which will change values in the already inserted rows of the table, and delete to delete particular rows of the table. Next is data query language. DQL is the most commonly used and it is used to retrieve data from table, which is done by using the select statement. This is usually the main focus of most business users. So it starts with the select clause and then it mentions the table name from which the data is to be fetched. I am showing only few examples of the clauses used in query language. Data control language. This part of SQL is used to control the access privileges to users for accessing data within the database. Common statements for this are such as grant, which will grant privileges to a particular user, or revoke, which will revoke particular privileges from any particular user. The fifth part is the transactional control commands. Transactional control commands give the power to manipulate various transactions over the database. These can be used to maintain data integrity. Mainly there are two commands: commit, which will make the changes done to the database permanent, and rollback, which rolls back the database to a particular point. These can be saved points or the last saved point for that database. So, which part is useful to which type of user? DDL, which will define the data, is mainly used by the developers and the architecture people. They will define the structure of the database and various data types that will be using it within the tables. Next is the DML, which is used mainly by the operations people. This team will maintain the production database of that particular company and they'll be maintaining what goes inside that table and what changes are to be made to that table. DQL is the language used by the business users or the analysts so that they can fetch the data which is required and they can work on it. Data control language is used by admins or owners of the particular database to grant access to different types of users. Transaction control commands are used again by the operations people to maintain the integrity of that database. So you may have heard the names of PostgreSQL, MySQL, SQLite and other database management systems. We'll be using PostgreSQL. PostgreSQL is an advanced object relational database management system. It adheres to all the SQL standards. Apart from that, it has some very good functionalities related to transactions, foreign keys, subqueries, and other user-defined types and functions. PostgreSQL is gaining popularity. Although the most used database management system is MySQL, but PostgreSQL has been gaining popularity mainly because of its analytics capabilities. Here I have given some examples of companies which are using PostgreSQL, such as Instagram, Netflix, Spotify, Uber, Reddit and so on. But why we have chosen PostgreSQL? Major reason is that it is open source. Anybody can use it, anybody can modify it, and it will still remain free. You don't have to pay royalty on it. Second is it is ACID compliance. Thirdly, the documentation available for PostgreSQL is pretty comprehensive. If you go to the PostgreSQL website and open the documentation, it is a 3,500 page long documentation, and you can get all the commands, all the statements, you can read all the theory behind the PostgreSQL. So it is pretty comprehensive. Whatever you would like to search for, you'll be able to get it in the documentation. The main reason we are using PostgreSQL in this course is aimed at people who are considering data analytics as a career option. And for data analytics mainly, PostgreSQL is the best suited DBMS system. It has better read and write speeds as compared to other data management systems like MySQL. That is why it is better suited for data warehousing and data analysis. Moreover, it is supported by all the major cloud service providers such as Amazon, Google, and Microsoft. So this will gain popularity in the long term, and this is what you should be learning now.